Me and Milda, we will talk more about roadmap. What are the possibilities and scenarios, and what is important to plan your project to move to the cloud? To move to the cloud in sense of the whole reference architecture, to move to the Qlik cloud and to transfer your ETL part to Snowflake, dbt, and we will call it Snowflake just to simplify the picture. So ETL part and a Qlik part. And by discussing all the possible scenarios and what is important and why, finally we realized that to start from the scenarios, it's not the right point. So where we will start our presentation, and we strongly recommend to do the same way if you are planning the project, we should start from setting up the requirements for the project, because technically there are many ways how to do that transition, but you need to understand, are you meeting requirements of your organization? So what is first question? Why to migrate, and why now? Why exactly we are migrating? Is it ERP migration that we will have in a half a year or in 1 year? Is it new functionality in the cloud or pricing in the cloud that we definitely need and as soon as possible? ETL is not reliable. ETL is not reliable is is more often met in my career than I would think it should be, but you know, every week, one day we are not getting the reports because it's crashes, something crashes in between, and we need to fix that definitely. We are getting reports after the midnight, after the midday, where we cannot work in the morning because reports are not ready. It's also quite often scenario. Preparation for future needs, we just have all the time. We want to go safely and easy because it's just to prepare for the future. Users need data, not just a report, it's also a need. So these are the first questions where we would start to answering them, because that will help us to choose the right scenario. So why migrate and why now? And then we need to define how we are doing the migration. First of all, what are requirements for user experience during migration? And you know, it's a different cases if you have 10 users and you have 150 users. And those 150 users, if they will not work for 2 days, the impact for the business will be sensible, and we can invest additional work and maybe money to avoid any downtimes. So it can be zero time downtime for end users. It can be no hybrid solution. All the migration for end users, like there was a Qlik on premise, and one day we have everything the same or not the same in a cloud. No mess in migration, during migration. It can be different user groups. It can be migrated in a different speed, because we have the key users and we need to migrate them very quickly, and the rest we'll do step by step. App by app migration, security requirements. So how migration will impact users? That's all the questions regarding this part. Evaluating data sites, ingestion, data preparation time to migrate solution that is running 1 hour during the night and migrating solution that is running 10 hours. It's different stories. It's different scenarios how you will do that. Because can data ingestion be duplicated? Can we every night load all the data to existing Qlik reports and all the same data to cloud data warehouse? Is it possible? The data source will allow us to do that. What is current workload in sense of time? And also, what is expectations? Because now we are running 10 hours. What is expectations for the future? Can we do that in 5 hours, in 3 hours, in 1 hour? Requirement for continuous development during migration. This is a key, actually, one of the key points. Will we stop all development? And for half a year, we'll do migration. So no new needs from business will be accepted. Everything stops. Or we do continuous development. If we have that requirements that nothing will stop, we will do development. So there are many ways. Either we do it twice every time, but how we test it, how we're managing it. This requirement. We need to. Everything can be set up, but we need to understand: do we invest in that? Do we make a project more complex, or we can set up project in an easy manner? Because no new requirements. We haven't developed that for half a year, and another half a year is not a problem. It's a different project. We already talked about this reference architecture, but now let's talk about those bronze, silver, and gold layers. And is our current solution does it meet the same structure about the bronze, silver, and gold? What intermediate results will be stored in Snowflake comparing to Qlik applications? Because sometimes in Qlik applications there is a ETL scripting that does a lot of work, but you don't have you're not saving the intermediate results. You just have starting point and then you have the ending point. So let's decide what will we store every step in those layers or just a final step? Requirement for the gold layer and security, because at the moment when it is in a Qlik QVD files, we are most probably not giving access directly to QVD files to end users. So we don't have that, even the idea how we will do that. So before starting, let's decide, will the gold layer will be in one database? There will be many gold layers divided by groups, and we will set up security and hold the data schemas accordingly. And the same with bronze and silver layers. Will we give access to end users to also the bronze layer? For silver layer, I don't think it's, and in my experience, it's not needed, because the intermediate results are mostly for data engineers that are looking for errors and testing the data quality. But bronze layer is, there is a need to access that. Documentation. It is also a very important question. Is it needed after we will do the migration? Will we have documentation? Do we have that now? And will we have that in the future? And what is the depth of documentation? Only dimensional calculations, or are we describing each step of transformation? And that is always a discussion, how detailed documentation must be. Because if you create a document with 10,000 pages, no one is reading that. So you need to find acceptable level of documentation, so it will be useful. And why this topic is important when you plan migration? Because if you ask for company or your own developers, can you prepare documentation from the scratch? Now, we have already the solution, but we have zero documentation. They will tell you, okay, I need to go through all the scripts and find out what exactly they do, and then I will document. Now, when you ask a developer, can I migrate that to the cloud? They will tell you, okay, I need to go to all the scripts, find out what they do, and then I migrate. And this go all through the scripts and find out what they do is the same step that both of them will do. So it is a very good time to raise that need and include it in your project. So after migration, you have that documentation, not doing the go through all the script twice. Environments. In this migration architecture, we definitely need to decide how many environments, for what purposes, with what security roles we will have. This development, testing, production environments, how exactly they will be divided. For example, in Snowflake, you can have different accounts of Snowflake, which would be comparable to different SQL servers in different machines. And they are separated, they have nothing in common except maybe the same LAN. But users, setup of users is different in each of them. On the other hand, you can have one environment and just different databases and set up the security database by database. And that's on one hand, it gives you additional security. On another hand, it's one more thing to manage those 3 accounts. And the same goes with everything, with DBT, with Data Factory, even with the Qlik environments and applications. How many of those environments we will have? Will we have testing only for transformations, or will we have testing for changes in a source? And for example, if you have a Business Central testing environment and Business Central working production environment, and they are uploading new changes, some changes in database, some additional columns or changes of types. So they are uploading that to your testing Business Central, and you can run the test through all the data workflow to evaluate, does it give you any impact on the final BI solution. So those scenarios, testing and environments are needed to move further. When you have those requirements, that was just, it's not a final list that we are now providing, it's just the idea that you need to think about it, and even when you think about it and you decide it, you need to present them to the project shareholders, to someone who will give the approval for the project. And maybe they will ask why it's so expensive. Because it's not just migration project. We are doing also documentation project, and we have requirement 0 downtime. And if we eliminate that, it's maybe twice cheaper. And you need to it's shareholders who decide on that. And you need to get that decision, approval, and only then you can move on. So Milda will now, we were talking about what impacts the scenario. And now we're getting to the part interesting. So what are those scenarios? So I'm giving the stage to Milda.
Yeah, so Simas raised quite many questions, right? And a lot of things, what he mentioned, you really need to consider carefully. And actually, all those answers internally, which or all those decisions which you will make will draw like a perimeter, which will help you to decide on what should be the right scenario for you to move forward with immigration. Because, well, there are, I guess, plenty of those scenarios which you can follow, but I will try to mention several of them just to give you some idea of what they can be. So let's start with the first scenario. I called it all at once. So what happens? So you have QlikSense, which is running on premise, and it continues working as that. And then in the meantime, you start data preparation chain moving or reallocating to Snowflake. And when it's finished, and usually it's done for all applications at once, so when it's finished, then you do the migration of Qlik needed, Qlik applications to Qlik Cloud, and you switch the data source to Snowflake. So both of those two actions are done at once, all at once. And then you switch off the QlikSense on-premise and everything starts working on cloud. There is also, well, the thing to consider in those steps, in those actions, like data preparation re-engineering. Are you going to do this during the data preparation pipeline to Snowflake? So are you going to include this in this whole project, or you will do this at the end as a new project? So this last step needs to be considered in all the scenarios. But in general, so when would you choose this scenario all at once? So most probably when switching to Qlik Cloud is not urgent, you can stay on premise. And when there are not so much of scripting, maybe not a lot of applications, script is not too complicated, and then that it will not take you too long to move all applications at once. So the key aspect here, we think that here you should consider moving all at once. The advantage of this scenario is that you do not need to migrate Qlik ETL applications. So you do not put anything what is not needed in the cloud. And so in migration, you need to migrate less applications. It becomes easier and faster, shorter. However, the disadvantage is that most probably you will have to stop the development for a certain time. Maybe for a short one, because, well, switching, migrating everything might not take too long, but the development most probably should stop. Otherwise, you will have to do the changes on QlikSense premise scripting and also repeat the same in Snowflake reallocation as well. So it's better not to double the things. Another scenario, which is pretty similar to the first one, but in this case, we are focusing or priority we put on the Snowflake. That Snowflake, we move to Snowflake first and only then to Qlik Cloud. So the actions starts the same. You continue working on QlikSense on premise. In the meantime, data is reallocated to Snowflake. And then data source is switched to Snowflake, but you are doing this before going to cloud. So you're doing in the applications which are on premise. And when all applications are switched, the source is switched, then you can move everything to Qlik Cloud and switch off on QlikSense on premise. So most probably the biggest advantage of this is that you can work this first part, switching the data source, you can work it application by application. And the switching in the backend will happen unnoticeable for the consumers, for the end users. First scenario, Qlik Cloud goes first. We put the priority on Qlik migration to Qlik Cloud. So the first step is that you migrate all the applications to Qlik Cloud, including visual applications as well as ETL applications, which are doing the data preparation. And then you can switch Qlik Sense on-premise off because everything you have in cloud. And then you can start working on moving the data, reallocating the data to Snowflake. And when it's done, so you switch, then you remove all ETL applications which you previously moved to Qlik Cloud. So now you have to delete them. Yeah, and yeah, that's it. So I think that you would choose this scenario when switching to Qlik Cloud is urgent and it has a priority number one. You would like to switch off Qlik on-premise and move to Qlik Cloud as soon as possible. The advantage is that so consumptions of applications are switched quickly to Qlik Cloud. It happens seamlessly without major impact to consumers. And also that in this scenario, you can work application by application and do the migration to Snowflake. So this is also good. However, there are a couple of disadvantages that since you are going to move everything to Qlik Cloud, it means that you will have to establish connectivities to all the sources which are needed also in Qlik Cloud. And then the deletion of ETL apps. So it means that you spend a time and money to migrate ETL apps to Qlik Cloud, and later on you are deleting them. So it's for certain time you are moving something what will be not needed in the near future. Then we have like a hybrid scenario. Qlik Sense on-premise continues to work. So users are working in there. Visual applications are being migrated to Qlik Cloud. But ETL and data preparation stays on-premise. So it means that you have to, well, there are two like environments working on-premise and Qlik Cloud. Some processes are happening in on-premise, some processes like consumption is happening in cloud. And then you work on switching data to Snowflake and switching the data sources. When all the applications are switched to Snowflake, then Qlik Sense on-premise is switched off. Advantages of such scenario is that consumption of applications are quickly switched to Qlik Cloud, so users can start learning and using Qlik Cloud features. You are not bringing ETL applications to Qlik Cloud as in previous scenario. And you can also work application by application or by application groups. So you reallocate data preparation pipelines to Snowflake by taking app by app. Disadvantage is that, well, as I already mentioned, two environments which needs to be, let's say, administered on-premise, Qlik on-premise, and Qlik on cloud. And the last one, scenario, well, we called it application by application. In this scenario, so you keep Qlik Sense on-premise working, and then you take application by application. Select one, let's say the most important application, you reallocate the data preparation to Snowflake gradually. Then you move this application to Qlik Cloud, also switch the data source to Snowflake, and you repeat this application by application. The biggest advantage is that you can carefully select exactly which applications needs to be moved first as priority number 1. And then maybe our applications can wait a little bit. However, the disadvantage is that one day the application can be reached and found on Qlik Sense on-premise, but the other day it is moved to Qlik Cloud. So there might be some confusion for the users, so where to search for that application, where to find it, because some part of applications are still on-premise, other part of applications are in cloud. But so in any case, as you can see, there are several scenarios, and as I said, I didn't mention all of them. But those scenarios, whatever you take, they have some advantages, disadvantages, and you just need to choose the one which fits your needs mostly.
Yep. And by listening all those scenarios, I can hear some of you saying, "Why so many scenarios? So just can you recommend which way to go?" And I can recommend almost any of those scenarios, depending on answering the couple of questions. Like, do you have 5 applications? Then all at once. Do you have 700 reports? You will not manage to do that all at once, because for 1 year that will take you to migrate. And our ETL is not working. It's just crashing. We need to solve that quickly because it's not reliable anymore. That's another scenario. And we are telling all those scenarios not because we don't know which to choose. We haven't decided which one is better. We haven't decided which one is better for each of you. But for that, we need some answers. And to understand, this is a project. This is a project with some requirements, but also possibilities like documentation and re-engineering. And you need to look at that as a project. It's not something that comes out of the box and we are just switching, because in your case, some of management or I don't know, shareholders can say it's just a switching the thing. Why so messy and why so expensive? Because it is a project, and we are not just switching the technology, we are switching the way we work. And that would be the key maybe message from us, that think about it seriously with all the advantages that you could achieve out of this.